Hi, everybody. I thought I would do a little video and address the situation that's happening, and certainly the events of these past days that are so very tragic. It's hard to know where to begin and what to say, and how to even encapsulate the nightmare and the murder of Mr. Floyd. But I mean, do we go through? Do I go through the door of social issues or historic or political, or what door? There's so many. There are so many. But I thought I would, comment on a matter of injustice, which is certainly something everybody can relate to. It's been my experience that issues of injustice and powerlessness are two of the root causes of illness in you. And if you think about, how do you respond when something that you consider unjust or unfair happens to you? We are comprised of elements. We're fire and earth, and fire and earth and air and water and metal. But the element that is most activated when you feel something unfair happens is fire. You explode with fire. You feel enraged. You feel heat exploding inside of you. You feel your skin gets hot, and there's a fury that starts. And that sense of powerlessness can cause you to just shake with rage. And think about in literature how often someone who is feeling, going through a situation of injustice is described as being inflamed. They're inflamed by what's happened. So from that point of view, when a whole ethnic group or racial group of people has been absorbing one incident of injustice after another, coupled with feeling powerless in their own nation, has accumulated feelings of being inflamed. And when that injustice has never been acknowledged, think about what healing requires for you. That when you feel an injustice has been done, you want it acknowledged. And in healing, there's a stage at which a person requires the holy witness, someone who listens deeply, not to change things, because nothing can be changed historically. Not even yesterday can be changed. But you need someone to listen and to witness you saying, this happened to me. And that person is like the recorder, the emotional scribe for you, who acknowledges, I get it, that happened to you. And when your eyes meet their eyes, it's a statement of saying, yes, that was unjust. In that moment, it doesn't change what happened, but that acknowledgement that, see, I wasn't insane, that did happen. There is an acknowledgement that your dignity, your personhood was indeed violated. to look at wanting these police officers charged with murder, that is one stage of resolution of what has occurred. To go another step further, to look through and the treatment of the African American population amongst us, and how they have been most definitely treated differently legally. That too has to be acknowledged, examined, undone. Yes. But is that enough? Is that enough? My way of looking, if I were to, when I look at healing, I always take it to the symbolic level, to the archetypal level. And when I look at the archetypal elements are also at work within the consciousness of a country, of a nation. So if I look at the United States has a very strong rebel archetype. Look at the way it was founded. We know we have the American Revolution and the rebels, that the founding fathers, the rebels that fought the war, and we honor the rebels that started the American Revolution, and that rebellious streak is very present in the American personality. The entrepreneur is a American characteristic, an American archetype. The pioneer, very much in the American nature. But there's a duality of archetypes, a couple, if you will, that have always fought against each other, that have never reconciled, and that is the slave master. These two archetypes have been at war with each other within the psychic field, and the founding and the formation and the legal system and the soil of this country since its inception. Slavery, the original sin, and independence and freedom, its founding vision. These two have been battling who gets freedom and who is enslaved. And the United States has never been it has dealt with freedom in small packages. Women have had to fight for freedom. African Americans have had to fight. In my lifetime, they had to fight for civil rights. In my lifetime. Freedom and dignity is at its root a power. And to that extent, we all have to go into deep reflection about matters of power, because at the end of the day, what this issue is about is power, and how all of us feel about our capacity to empower our fellow human beings, to empower them. And human beings struggle with this idea that if I empower you, I will have less power. And the other thing that human beings struggle with is this need to have to feel better than at least one other person. The idea of being ordinary is something human beings hold in contempt. Then they have to be better than someone. This idea, I was born for something special. I know I was born for something special. This idea of specialness, this idea of needing to be extraordinary, other than ordinary, is this psychic cancer that compels people to look upon their own life as being inadequate for some reason. One of the great challenges people have is looking at another person and appreciating their value, of using your gifts, your inner gifts, your gifts of your soul, to empower the gifts of another person. That is your highest potential, to use your potential to bless the potential of another person. When people say, what's my highest potential? That's it. It's to use your graces to empower another person, to realize, like, for example, the grace of understanding. People will say in a conversation, you better understand me, when in fact, the grace of understanding is the prayer, God, grant me the capacity to understand what this moment is about and to help this person to comprehend something. If I can understand it better, let me, and so I can help them. That's the grace of understanding. Not that you be understood, but whatever difficulty, be understood. A grace is larger than you. That you empower a situation instead of needing more power, that you empower both of you. Not until we get to a place where we stop thinking in polarities, that if you get more, I get less. Instead of getting what is in one is in the whole, that a rising tide lifts all ships, that somehow I will not suffer less if you get more. This type of equation, that I will be the slave if you become the master. So I must master you. This way of thinking, the slave and the master is not necessarily something in the field. It's a way of thinking that says, if I must master you, I must control you, or you will control me. That I can't possibly liberate you through the gifts of my being. I must withhold them to keep you in bondage, because that is how I keep my mastery over you. This is the great challenge of a conscious person, of becoming a conscious person, of getting over this fear of the power of another person. We're not going to get through this kind of crisis, whether it's a pandemic or this second kind of pandemic, symbolically, by just putting people on trial for murder. It's not until everybody goes through an examination of conscience, of their own inner need to be master of somebody, of needing to control others, and fear of their empowerment, and get over that. Because that's what true self-esteem is. That's what soul self-esteem is. The capacity to use your gifts of the Spirit to empower the spirit of others. And to recognize what is in one is in the whole. What I do to one, I'm doing to everybody. That, and until we get there, every act where we disempower someone is an act that supports the slave-master archetype in some way. Every act in which we want to control somebody comes from the slave-master. I got to master that person, otherwise I'll be enslaved. Whether that's in a relationship or in work, it feeds this type of dynamic. Our way through this is through ourselves, and that in turn, that in turn creates a sense of a larger understanding of what justice really is. That injustice for one person is injustice for all people. We have to start thinking in terms of all of us together in this. And always, as I say, keep everyone in your prayers, especially now. These are difficult times, and they're not going to go away just because of a curfew or because of legislation. Think of yourself and how angry you get when something unfair happens. It can't be legislated out of you, can it? How long do you stay angry? It doesn't leave you until somehow your unfairness is witnessed and you are healed through some greater act of fairness. So, I'm going to leave you with this. Hold everybody in your prayers. Just ask for grace to descend upon like cold water, like crystal cold water, cooling off these flames, and just recognize we are going through a time, an epic time of transformation, and a great deal has to be transformed, a great deal, and it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to be easy, but the only way through is to really truly get how much is at stake and how much needs healing, and that we're all truly in this together. Bless you all. Thank you.